Hello, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today at our free and open, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific time show. We do every Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Take your questions about U.S. immigration live, intended as general educational information, not as individual legal guidance. You can check us out on LinkedIn, on our YouTube pages, Instagram, TikTok, and different names for each of them. Unfortunately, there's a lack of consistency there. But on LinkedIn, it's my personal John Khosravi profile. I recommend following me there, especially if you do business kind of stuff. Our YouTube page is either JQK Law or US Immigration Talk. You can search either. And on TikTok it's Immigration Lawyer John or JQK Immigration Law Firm. Both of them will bring me up. And Instagram, I think that one's JQK Law Firm. So I was a little bit more consistent what you see. But we come here every Tuesday, take your questions. So shoot them out. I know US immigration is pretty complicated. If you do have a marriage, green card, or fiance case that you're interested in, download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. The website for that is free guide, 50 plus pages. It's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, the website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's the place to go to check out and download the guide. And before you talk with any attorneys, go there so you can figure out what's going on. Then talk with an immigration lawyer because there's so much there and you can ask really good questions once you know the details of your case. If you want to schedule a private consultation with me, fees do apply, but the website, go to our website first, fill it in, these boxes so we see what kind of case you have. It's something we do or not do. It's jqqlaw.com/contact. Again, that's jqqlaw.com/contact. Let's get it started. Zishan asks, hello, can someone come to USA on a B1, B2, then get married in USA? Yeah, it is possible to get married in the United States on various visa categories. That itself is not an issue. Sometimes there's worry that if you come on a tourist visa, you get married immediately or soon after, it shows that either when you got the visa, you're lying, you weren't coming for tourist purposes, you're coming to get married and stay here, especially if you file for adjustment status, or you lied to the person at the airport. But people do it all the time. But there's just risk depending on that. There's more details needed to see if your case is problematic or not. But sometimes people come just get married here and they leave and they do stuff. So that's there too. But for example, if you applied for your tourist visa form DS-160, there's a question that asks, do you have a fiance in the United States? And if you say no, and then you get the visa, and then come next day to the U.S. and then get married, they're like, well, you told us there's no fiance. What, you lied in the application? So that kind of stuff could happen. Nepali asks, we had two I-130s. My wife already has green card. Should we withdraw second or leave it? If she has her green card, you can withdraw it. That doesn't really matter. I'd have to see what's going on. I can't give individual legal guidance because it's like, why would you have two I-130s pending? So that itself is like a thing. And did you say different information on it? That's why I need to analyze the case with you and review the forms with you and see what was happening, what was said before I can say to do anything. That's why we need to have a private consultation. But generally speaking, usually inevitably that's the recommendation is going to happen for most cases. But without reviewing your individual case, I can't say for sure certain. Prodevice says, what about green card holder? What about them? Is that the marriage question or what? Who was Prodi? So you say question, what about green card holder? What about them? Your questions have to be more thorough because you can't just say a statement. Harry asks, I'm on queue for an interview, but my dad, the petitioner, has passed. What I do? I'm really sorry to hear that. If your parent has passed and the I-130 is approved, you have to do a program. I think it's called humanitarian reinstatement. I'm not just positive. I never do it, but if someone else as a U.S. citizen or green card holder can submit an affidavit of support and take their place, it's up to USCIS discretion whether they'll accept that or not, but that's what people usually do. Nepali asks, I-24 is reason we filed second one. Oh, I see. Okay. So yeah, if it's already done, the green card is issued, probably you're okay. But again, I can't give individual guidance, but that's probably what I would say. But well, let's see. All right, we have a question here. Instagram user asks, it was a question asked. Oh, that was in my comments for my videos. Okay, if you have questions watching the live show on Instagram, just ask there so I can live ask you. Nixta says, are interviews automatically waived for children under 21, U.S. citizen adjustment of status concurrent filing? No, not necessarily. They're more and more doing interviews. Usually they do waive this stuff, but not necessarily. It's just up to the government. AB asks, how long the misrepresentation waiver takes nowadays? Between 6 months to 4 years, unfortunately. HC Mesa says, how long are I-130s taking? Resident spouse. So if a green card holder applies for their spouse, the I-130 petition itself is taking anywhere from 6 months to 3 years. So that's the average we're seeing on those. I got a bunch of gifts. Thank you, Lifted, for giving me gifts. Nina asks, can you tell me about the EB2? I'm graduating with a master's degree in December. So I think you're talking about the EB2C National Interest Waiver category. This is something that allows you to apply for your own green card without an employer. based on having work you've done in the national interest, which is going to continue in the U.S. and help America. That's a big part of it, but you need to really be able to establish how great a work you've done in the past and how you will in the future, and documented that's in the national interest and it's substantial and important, all this kind of stuff, for them to waive the requirement to go through the perm process, having an employer file for you. TikTok is saying, encourage your users to share your live and invite more friends. Please share the live and invite more friends. Nina Yusuf says, yes. Jim Uncle says, I have an L1. Can I apply for a green card? An L1 has a corollary for a green card, which is called the EB1C multinational manager. It's not that you would apply for it. It's if your employer who's doing the L1 applies for it and you satisfy the requirements, you're in like an executive or manager position, and the rest of your background work. So can you apply? Maybe. There's just a lot more information you have to see. Nina Youssef said, is it hard? I haven't done anything specific before. Yeah, it's hard. It really depends on your background. Barrow says, are marriage-based green cards being approved faster now, like 2 or 3 months? Yeah, I'm getting a lot of cases. Not 2 3 months, but maybe 3 4 months as fast as that, but it could be longer. You never know with the government. Nixon says, thanks, don't need to prepare. Yeah, it's always best to prepare just in case. Jim Uncle says, thank you, you're welcome. Faraz, hi, my sister and kids have been card. They haven't lived in this country. I think you're saying they have a green card. They haven't lived here for 5 years due to marital health problems. What are the chances she can enter the country? 50-50. Either they're going to allow it or not. I can't give chances. This isn't like a gambling kind of thing. It's just, it's up to the officers, whatever they want to do. Nina says, is there anything I can do to facilitate my case? Yeah, just develop your criteria. It's best to have a private consultation, see what you've done, and really flesh it out more there. But there's always stuff you can do. It really is a personal thing, like what your field is and how in your field you can prove how established you are in the work you're doing. Pistock says, hello, will the green card holder's naturalization be approved if he has medical? Thank you. Do you think Medi-Cal you mean? It depends on what you said to get Medi-Cal and your income and stuff like that. Right now they're approving it, but potentially you may have needed to list if you got a family-based green card, your family member's income, and that would have prevented you from getting free healthcare. So it depends on how strict they want to get on that. Right now I haven't seen issues, but that could happen. It's an unknown future. Singh says, I have a silent green card. Can I apply for my home country passport? I don't recommend it. Luna says, hello, sir. The new law, HR 75 DO Act, will be retroactive. It's not a law yet, so we don't really know what's going to happen. Queen Gatushank says, my husband tried for F2 twice and B2 once, but all got rejected. What to do? I'm sorry. I mean, talk with a lawyer in private, see what the reason was, but maybe there's nothing you can do. I don't know. Nino says, do you think it'll be easier with the H-1B? I mean, you got to get chosen H-1B. If you have an employer that applies for your H-1B, Nina, EB2 is a green card, H-1B is a temporary work visa, so they're just different things. But if you get chosen in the H-1B and you have a qualifying job and qualifying employment and they don't change the H-1B laws, yeah. So don't really look at it as an easy or hard. It's like just you satisfy these certain requirements. It's really specific. So that's the different perspective you should take on it. Pistax says, thanks for your answer. You're welcome. F says, asylum acceptance rate is lower now. I don't keep track of asylum acceptance rates. Ella Maria says, hello, are they still doing military PIP? It depends on the field office. Queen says, can we ask the lawyer why we were rejected? Can you ask the lawyer why we were rejected? I don't know your case. I can't tell you that. Nina says, where are you located? I'm in Los Angeles, but we do everything digitally, so it's our location won't matter for your case. Aristolica asks on Instagram, risk of getting detained at green card interview, marriage based, or someone adjusting status from a temporary work visa if the visa holder passes briefly out of status. The risk, not current, but the person was out of status. I don't understand. You could be briefly out of status, then be in status again. So I got to see what's going on there. So that could be a potential issue. So having the way you're putting it, it creates problems I wouldn't even think exist. So I got to see what's going on there. But in general, people out of status right now are still getting approved. Very few times we hear there's problems, but every new case coming in, I'm telling them about the risks of having status violations and stuff like that, or being out of status, and we don't know how they're going to deal with that in the upcoming future. So things are changing a lot. But Aristolica, I need to see what exactly happened with the case before I can advise on that. So schedule a private consultation. Kid Brown says, 2-year conditional green card I got without an interview. Then what? Well, get the green card, and 2 years afterwards, you file for I-751. Pinky says, London current F3 file DQ running how long? I'm not in charge of the embassies, so London's pretty fast. I'm not sure why they're not scheduling you. Nina says, "Okay, thank you. You're welcome." Jezza says, "Do undocumented immigrants have a chance to get a green card? It depends on the undocumented immigrant and their background." Ariana says, "K1 visa, embassy, send it back to California Service Center. Past 100 days, no reply to next. You should have contacted an immigration attorney 6 months ago. If your case was returned from the embassy back to USCIS, that's a major problem. So you need to contact immigration as soon as possible to see what's going on." Jezo says, "Do undocumented immigrants have to answer your question?" Which is possible to answer that question. Jezo says, "Thank you. You're welcome." Thanks for the question, though. These things are so case specific. So you might have an undocumented immigrant who is a victim of a serious crime, or I've had people who are out of status, and then we interviewed them and consulted with them, and I realized they're actually U.S. citizens, and they didn't even know it. And so it's like not everyone's gonna be like that's a rare case, but it's happened to me many times before where we analyze it and like, oh, this person's actually been a citizen, they didn't even know it, and it's complicated because of the way the citizenship laws are, and you have to document it in a certain way. But that's why you have to always do a case by case analysis on immigration cases. It's hard to just say anything generic. And that's why I got to be very careful talking here because you ask questions, but everything I answer has an exception to it. So I got to kind of walk a line, let you know it's a general education and information, but there's always a chance that someone has like some specific thing that's different. And so 99% of people might be what I say, but then there's like 1% that have this exception. Cam says, "How long does it take to get a receipt notice for your I-765 EAD? It should take a week or two. It shouldn't take that long." Jazzer says, "Let's say they have 10 plus years." That doesn't 10 plus years of what? I don't know what's going on. AM says, "I-130 approved. MVC processing in progress. Petitioner died recently. Visa interview next month." You got to replace the petitioner, and that works. Now USCIS approved that, so it's a difficult situation. Aristotle says, "Are naturalization applications proceeding normally, or have you seen any changes since Trump?" Yes, so far they're normal. Certain things they're going to get more strict on and pay more attention to, but it hasn't like fully happened yet. But they're just going to get more detail, and the system to check background is going to get better, all this kind of stuff. But nothing dramatically has happened yet in those kind of cases. There's some dramatic stuff that's happened in other kind of cases, but for not for those. Thank you for joining. We're getting a lot of hearts coming in on TikTok. Appreciate it. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Just answer your questions. If you want to schedule a private consultation, go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact, jqqlaw.com/contact, and download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. Excuse me. Go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Fairdo says, "How long does it take to get approval for I-485 for a refugee who has already spent 1 year in USA?" Those sometimes take a while. It could be 6 months. It could be 3 years. It really depends on luck, really. AM says, "How long does humanitarian resettlement take to get approved?" 3 months to 3 years. It's really USCIS doesn't have a fixed timeline on those. It's whenever they get to it. If they approve it, I would say they get a decision, not necessary approval. I've never done those cases, but all my clients who had that had alternatives that came up, so they didn't bother going through that. AB says, "Just did my interview, green card marriage based on Friday, approved. Didn't get any update USCIS. Sometimes it take a while." Kendall, Miami. USF says, "Applying for citizenship 2 years. What do you think?" I don't know what you want me to say to that. Good luck, I guess. I don't have anything opinion. I don't know anything about you to give you what I think. We need to analyze your background. So schedule a private consultation, and then after talking about your background stuff, I can let you know what I think. Bernard, thank you for joining on Instagram. Let me sit straight, better posture. For all those who work at home or work sitting on the desk all day, you gotta sit right to avoid back problems, especially as you get older. All right, let's see what's new questions. Jen says, "How to visa to approve?" I don't know what that means. You says, "How much fee?" Please schedule private. I don't talk about fees here. This is recorded, so things change, and so I'll be on the hook for some price that doesn't exist. So please schedule a private consultation with the office. Go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact, and I'll respond with you there about how much fees are. This will be a consultation only, and then take from there. All right, I'm actually releasing a really detailed guide, like the marriage immigration guide we have about citizenship. Just a lot of work. My guides aren't like crappy guides like people. They're like full-on guides. So that's gonna be coming out soon. FYI, just follow us. It's gonna be on our website, jqqlaw.com/citizenship, but I haven't put it up yet. So if you go there, it's not there yet. Aristolica says, what's the single biggest change you've seen in your practice since January? There's a lot of changes happening. My practice, I focus on like marriage cases, people with extraordinary ability, and small time investors. So there's been less changes in the things I do. It's more for people that have removal cases, people getting detained and kicked out and deported and stuff. But for the stuff I do, the worst is like your scenario where if someone had been out of status or is out of status the interview, they'll randomly pick him up, detain him, and try to kick him out. Now it's like 1 out of 1,000 that'll happen, but it's very scary because being detained is pretty to jail, and they might send you to alligator Alcatraz or something. So that's been the worst. And so we have cases right now where typically, for example, someone was on a visa and then it ended and they stayed and eventually married a U.S. citizen. In those cases, it was an open and shut case. They'll give a green card. But now they'll probably still get the green card if they married a U.S. citizen, but they may detain it for X amount of time. And I really don't want people to go to immigration jail for 2 weeks or 2 years and spend tens of thousands of dollars to get a court hearing to then just get a green card. So that's been the biggest like a nightmare for my practice. And in most of the cases I handle, usually only legal immigration with no issues. So that's why I don't see as many issues, but they're bothering these kind of people. So it's just a hot mess. AB says, what's the average approval rate for I-610 waiver? That's not a good way to look at it. What's the average approval rate? It's really depending on what your case is and what your issues are. People file cases that shouldn't have been filed or are bad cases, so you can't compare apples and oranges. Do you see my question? I saw that question. Dio says, are VAWA applicants at risk? What about DACA recipients taking by ICE? Now, that's another thing. We don't necessarily do too much VAWA cases, but they are at risk now. They used to be a kind of deferred action, meaning they won't essentially, unless the person has criminal history arrest, if you're on VAWA or U visa or something like that, they won't come after you. DACA are not supposed to go after you, but randomly they will. But it's not a wide scale thing, but they've reserved the rights and will enforce ICE laws they run into you. So it's a very scary situation for these kind of cases where they're probably going to get a green card anyways. Jantia says, how long do you have to wait for a T visa to get approved? We don't do T visas. I've heard they're backed up, but since I don't do T visas, I don't want to comment on them. Kateskai says, how about traveling with green card with no criminal record? Generally, it's all good, but I can't say without reviewing your individual case. Jezzer follows up, do children who have been here for a long time that are undocumented have a chance? Again, it depends on their background, how long they've been here, what's going on. There's so many different factors. So some do, some don't. John Boss says, accept my request. I have a question. I don't know what request you made, but just ask your questions, just like you did right there. Top Tier Film says, are spouse I-130 still processing as normal, even if the spouse from a country on the red band list? Yeah, the I-130s are processing normal. It's just eventually when you go to your interview, they're going to deny you unless you fall with an exception. Anna says, good afternoon. Do you have any experience on a client sending a FOIA to see their legal entry date? Yes, most of the time from when they were a toddler. The problem is that you probably have to do a CBP request, and CBP takes forever, and sometimes it says nothing's there. You might try to do what's called an OBIN fingerprint one, but I'm not sure that's going to come in the system if you're a toddler. You just got to do all of them to see what happens, but unfortunately, it's if you don't have the I-94 evidence of entry and you're a toddler, it makes it hard. You try to do a Department of State FOIA to get like evidence that you had a visa at the very least, but it's a hard one. Big Rocket says rules are made like beacons to guide, not like nets to catch. God bless America. Like beacons to guide. All right, not sure what that means. Nikita says, is there a delay in receipt notices for some cases like the U visa that in VAWA? Briar says, shouldn't undocumented immigrants who work with iTunes quit their jobs? I mean, if you don't have, only thing I can legally say, if you don't have work authorization, you shouldn't be working. That's the only thing I can say. Mahomet says, hello, sir. Just received a double line crossing citation, no arrest, no DUI, an N400 interview coming in 2 weeks. Is that going to hurt the interview? Just pay, probably not. I got to see the ticket exactly, but probably not. Make sure to pay, just get out of the way for the interview. Yeah, if it's not paid and stuff, that might hassle you, but just pay it, have a proof of it. But I got to see it to see exactly what the charge is on there. I mean, it's probably okay, but as a lawyer, I just can't give like legal guidance to people I haven't reviewed their paperwork. AB says, I got the misrepresentation of fake bank statement. Is that hard to get a waiver? What do you think? Oh my God, why would you do that? So why would you use a fake bank statement? Like if it was for trying to prove a marriage case, they might accuse you of marriage fraud, and that's like a big issue. AB, you should talk with immigration attorney in private. And it says, thank you, because I've been waiting for 4 years for info back on the FOIA. Yeah, FOIA, and not only that, they're redacting more information on FOIA, or just saying we can't find anything, even though some exists. So. RE says Dignity Act. When will it vote? I don't follow the Congress starts a lot of these bills that go nowhere, so I stopped keeping track of those until it becomes law. It's worthless. Europe says how long is our I-75 once taking 6 months to 3-4 years, so 3 years probably. For those just tuning in, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. I handle marriage-based family cases, fiance cases, people with extraordinary ability getting EB-1A, NIW cases, and small-time investors doing small business, E2 and L1 subsidiaries. Schedule consultation at jqklaw.com/contact. If you're doing a marriage fiance case, download our guide, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Callie says, what does it mean when my case status changes from actively reviewed to still processing? It just means you got to wait. User says, can you apply for advanced parole under DACA if you had an order removal dismissed back in 2006? That gets kind of tricky. I want to review your case before I can ask you that. John Bod says, can I talk you? Can I talk you? Go ahead. Saw says, after marriage-based adjustment of status interview done June 5th, no update. It's starting to be too long. Schedule a private consultation so we can see what happened in the interview to see if there's a specific issue. But sometimes it takes like 30 or 60 days. Orib says, got a divorce while waiting for the I-751. Can I still get my 10-year green card? Or yeah, please go to our YouTube page. I have 3 or 4 videos I've done on this. Go to JQK Law I-751. Search that on YouTube. I have detailed videos on that. All right, John Buzz. I'm not sure what you keep asking, like nonsense questions. So just if you want to ask a question. Or just leave it be. Okay, so Mama says it's simple. Ticket and it says a respond for citation. It should not be ready in the system to pay. What should I do, sir? I guess just tell them, and then they might give you more time to pay it and then update the government. They'll approve it, or they just might let it go. It's better to tell them than not to tell them because it's so fresh. But it's probably going to be okay if it's just like a simple infraction. AB says, I got misrepresentation due to fake bank statement to change my status. It's hard to get a waiver. AB, you got to talk with the attorney. That's like crazy thing to do, have a fake bank statement. So you have bigger problems potentially. So you need to spend some time. A waiver depends on other factors. So like a waiver I need to see your qualifying relative or what kind of case you have in the first place. But that could be a serious problem. All right, we only got a couple more minutes left. If you have some questions about U.S. immigration law, please shoot them out. We'll try our best to answer general educational stuff. Pinky asks, apply for citizenship. In California, it says 2 months left, but still no interview letter. Don't follow what they say the timelines are. They're not reliable. User says, my DACA switched from actively being reviewed to still in processing. Should I be worried? No, just the government does stuff like that. Nina Youssef, what's the difference between EB2 and EB3? There's subcategories for these cases, but generally EB2 is for people who have higher degrees, master's degrees, PhDs, and EB3 is for unskilled workers. And they have timeline differences. Pinky says, okay, thank you, you're welcome. User says, thank you, you're welcome. Brooklyn, thanks for joining. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi, taking your questions about U.S. immigration law. Shak CA, thank you for joining on Instagram. Takumbo of Mary, nice to meet you. Alejandro, thanks for joining. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Just shoot out your questions about U.S. immigration law, and we'll see if we can give you some little guidance, or feel free to listen as we go through stuff. In general, yeah, things getting a lot scarier for immigration law. If you're here without status, it's going to be really scary because they could do whatever they want. And even people with status they're messing around with. And everything's getting more expensive and more complicated, and they change rules on us, and they don't enforce the rules as they are. So it's a lot of bad faith going on. Wally Sham says, can an SIV green card holder travel to Afghanistan? I don't handle SIV cases, so I don't want to give comments on a case that we don't handle at our office. It's not something I have daily experience in, so I don't like talking about that kind of stuff. KB says, I-130 approved. I was an LPR. I am a citizen now. Can I upgrade status or not for I-485? Yeah, you can upgrade status. You got to call them up and let them know, and also mail them a copy of evidence that you're a citizen. I mean, it depends on what kind of case you have. So you're an LPR citizen. Well, what kind of I-130 was it? Who was doing the I-485? So we got to see what's going on before you do any of this stuff. Let's say you had a marriage green card case pending, and your spouse is you were a green card holder, your spouse was an F1 student. You can update them that you're a citizen now to put you in the immediate relative line for your spouse. But I need more details, so we have to have a private conversation for me to tell you more exact stuff. Muhammad says, thank you so much, sir. My interview is in the Valley. Appreciate your answer. You're welcome. I wish you the best. I think about the Valley, you mean like San Fernando Valley. So they're pretty flexible there. Free parking, so that's always nice. But best of luck on the interview. Okay, so yeah, the citizenship guide is coming soon. Please follow us. It'll be big announcements. Go to our YouTube page, best place to follow us at jqklaw.com. Yeah, JQK Law. Kevson says, I-130 for my wife. She entered with a visitor visa. So if you're a green card holder, you shouldn't have filed an I-485 if she came with a visitor visa. probably depending on the timing. So KB, you really should consult us in private to see what happened, to watch out for things. Breyer says, I missed your response for this. Can you answer this question again? I don't know what question you asked, so please go again. Wright says, can you explain immigration bonds? I posted one 8 years ago for $10,000. What's the interest? I don't handle bond cases, so I don't answer that. John Boz, I'm going to unfortunately have to mute you because you're just not using this app properly. Okay. Breyer says, should undocumented immigrants who work with I-10 quit their jobs? Breyer, I can't answer. If someone doesn't have work authorization, they shouldn't be working. That's the only legal answer I can give you. Anna asks, can someone on an L1 approved I-140 and I-485 pending travel out with the I-131? Because I've heard you abandon if you leave while it's pending and advanced parole isn't there. So if you have a valid L1 visa and it's always cool, you could use that in lieu instead of advanced parole and travel with it. There's risks where if like you all of a sudden you get fired while you're outside the country, then you're gonna be in a bad position. Also, if you have an advanced parole case pending and you travel on the L1 and you reenter, they may cancel or deny the advanced parole saying you travel while it's pending. So it really depends on your circumstances, if it's how much need you have to do it, all that kind of stuff. Luis asks, green card by marriage coming up. Any advice? Make sure you know your material well. Make sure there's no indivisibility issues, all that kind of stuff. Rosanna Anthony Vlog say, my wife just had her interview in Manila and was refused due to her and her daughter's birth certificates were registered late. Ugh, I hate when that happens. So we are 221G until further proof who they are. So you got to get school records and all this kind of stuff to see if you can back it up. Anna says, also, my friend just came on an L1. Can he file for EB1 instantly, or does he have to wait 1 year? For EB1C, the company has to have been in operations for at least 1 year. So it depends. Is it a new office L1 or existing office? And then it depends on their background. But it's possible. It really depends on the company being open for 1 year. I mean, the employer's lawyer is going to tell you what to do. Anaya says, what is the timeline for I-130 standalone U.S. citizen file for spouse in January? 12 to 15 months. Academy says, can a company file H-2B visa for somebody that's out of status on tourist visa? They can start the process, but if they've been out of status for more than 180 days, when they leave the U.S. to do their visa interview, they're going to get banned for 3 to 10 years. And you can request a waiver, but that's hard to get, and it's going to take a long time. So it's practically, H-2B it's not really practical to do that. So Anna follows up, the L1 has been in existence for 10 years. Yeah, it depends on the company. And if the employee satisfies the requirements and the employer does too, they could try EB1C. Shakun says, as an asylum applicant, I applied for my initial EAD post 150 days. They're asking $500 payment. Why? There's a new law now as of today, probably, that for asylees, you have to pay extra money for the EAD and renew it and all this. The whole thing has changed up, so it's a hot mess. Now asks, if I move the case to Benin Embassy, will I be affected by a temporary ban on Benin? No, the ban is based on like what passport you have. Florida says, hi, where are you located, and do you accept contributions over the phone or in person? We only do video consultations. Payment can be made like different formats. But I'm in Los Angeles, but our location doesn't matter for the cases that we handle. My dad says, I'm on a B1, B2. Can I change status to O1 ASAP, meaning a few weeks, or have 9-day rule? I mean, if you just came in, if you had intent to change status, I don't recommend doing that. But if things changed after you came, it's better to wait a bit before filing. There's no 90-day rule for USCIS at all. It really depends on intent. So USCIS doesn't have a 90-day rule. All right, get a couple more minutes of questions. We'll get it out. Academia already answered your question. Christina says, I have interviewed 2 months ago for my I-485 under approved VAWA. Still an answer. What can I do? You can write a letter to him and say what's going on. Angie says, if you withdraw appeals I-130 petition can't cause any problems. I don't know. You got to see what's going on in your case. What is 237A1H waiver? This is if someone in getting their green card has some sort of misrepresentation or errors. They could waive it if they have a qualifying relative and they're in immigration court and just keep the green card. SFM says, my processing time changed from 3 weeks to 4 months. Yeah, processing times are not reliable, so just ignore those. All right, so we're going to be wrapping it up. I'll then take 1 or 2 more questions so we hit the 30-minute mark exactly. I started the show a little late. For those just tuning in, I'm Immigration Lawyer John Castrabi. I take your questions live on this show and give general guidance, not individual legal guidance. If you haven't already, download our guide, marriageimmigrationlaw.com, the website, marriageimmigrationlaw.com, the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. and schedule a private consultation. jqqlaw.com/contact is the place to go. jqqlaw.com/contact. Fill in the box your info and what your case is, because as you've seen here, we don't handle every type of case, so I don't want you to schedule a consultation if our office doesn't handle it. Andrew says, I'm sorry, you said depends on the case. I don't remember what your initial question was, but if I said depends on the case, depends. Yeah, it depends on the case. I gotta see what's going on, why you're withdrawing, what the background was. For example, I had a consultation last week for a person that has a fiance adjustment case, and they found out their U.S. citizen fiance was cheating on them, so they withdrew their case, thinking they're going to get denied. But there's an exception under matter of what's called SESAY, SESAY, that if they didn't withdraw and just kept it going, they could have kept the case going if the petitioner kept the financial sponsorship, which they would have. So, like 3 years later, they come to me like, why did you withdraw? You could have got your green card. So I don't want to recommend withdrawing. I can't recommend anything without reviewing the case myself. Omni asks, I had rejected NIW and actively B1, B2, then got O1 approved. They denied me in the interview and also canceled B1, B2. Okay, so you're trying to get around the visa, the embassy. So actually, you're a different case from the Mike Dad. So Omni, I gotta see what's going on in your case. Now I guess I cannot apply for non-immigrant visa. I'm going for an EB1A. My only way, because I did maybe. Let's see what's going on. Artemis says, is it true if F3 visa processing for my mother-in-law, we can't apply for E2 because one applicant shows intent? You apply for E2. It's up to the embassy if they want to hassle you on intent or not. Laura Amont says, can you use the 247 for applying for citizenship? I'm not sure what you mean by using 247. Angie says, thank you. You're welcome. All right, everybody, that's it for today. If you want to schedule a private consultation, please go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. Until next week, I'll see you again. I'm Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi. Yeah, that's it. We'll see you next week. Follow us on Instagram, and you'll get notices for our pop-ups that we do live. But every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, we're here as well. God bless, be safe, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.